The most news in the morning. CNN's American Morning. Weekday, 6 a.m. Eastern.
Tell me a little bit about what you're going through and whether or not you've heard from Chris since his arrest in Japan.
I have not heard from him since his arrest. I miss my husband. I want him to come home. I love him, and it's been very, very, very hard. One thing that made me feel better today, though, I found a note that Isaac had written to his daddy around Christmas time last year, and it says, "The force is in you, Daddy. The force is in you, Daddy." And Christopher needs to be strong while he's in jail. I know he's got to be scared. He has to be distraught, upset, and worried about his children. Christopher needs your prayers. Isaac and Rebecca need prayers too. Those
are his children, and and boy, this is a difficult situation for all of you. And as you were going through the back and forth, the custody exchanges, because there was joint custody, did you guys ever get the feeling that this is something that his ex-wife Norika would try to do?
We knew it was something she always wanted to do. We knew that the threats were real. She never behaved as if our love and attention towards the children was valuable at all. She seemed always to be bothered by the fact that the children love their father, or that he loves them. She just felt it was a bother to have this ex-husband who wanted to play baseball with his son and take his daughter to music lessons. She just thought it was a major inconvenience to have to deal with him. And she didn't see the value in his love and attention, and she would always say he's a terrible father. And I know for a fact he's not a terrible father. He's a wonderful father. He's an affectionate father, and his children love him. And you have all these photographs that will attest to that fact. You cannot make up that affection, that genuine love that you see in all of those photographs and signs like this. The force is in you, Daddy.
And he wouldn't have, taken this type of personal risk, I'm sure, and I'm sure it was difficult for all of you that he did this. And I want to bring in Jeremy right now. I mean, the arrest of Christopher sounded quite dramatic. According to a friend and a witness, he was able to actually get past the first barricade at the consulate, and then they say the consulate's gate was not open despite his cries for help. They say that his young daughter, Rebecca, was crying in his arms. His son, Isaac, was sort of standing there frozen in the middle of the street, and then he was taken into custody in Japan. This is something that could land him in jail for 5 years. Do you see him being released anytime soon?
We don't hear that. We've organized 2 lawyers there, a family lawyer and a top criminal lawyer, to try to get access to him. They may have seen him earlier today. We hope so. We're waiting for news on that. We're very worried, and it's a terrible situation. It's not right. It's not fair, and this happens frequently with Japan. I've handled dozens and dozens and dozens of these cases where American kids have been abducted by Japanese parents to Japan, and basically they never get the kids back.
Well, Japan's not party to the 1980 Hague Convention on International Child Abduction, which would require, in this case, that the children be returned to Chris. And so what are you working with? They also have a different cultural stance when it comes to shared custody. They don't believe in it, right? So one parent gets the kids, the other parent's expected to sort of move on.
The other parent is kind of deemed a nuisance if they want to continue to have involvement in the life of their children in many, many situations. So there's no family law system that will protect Chris in this situation over there. We're appealing for diplomatic help. The United States government has been trying to strongly encourage, request, demand Japan sign the convention and actively participate in the convention. That's been going on for years and years and years, and it's time that it stopped. It's time that these abductions of American kids to that country end. And I'm pleased for one thing, and that is this case is horrible, it's horrific. It's the first time that I've heard of one of my clients being arrested over there. It shows you how desperate he was. But this happens all the time. It happens every month to so many fathers and children here, and it just needs to end. And we need to get the message to the State Department that diplomatically we need pressure, and Japan has to change its ways.
Amy, how do you hope this ends? How do you see this ending?
I don't know. I received a surprising phone call yesterday from a woman who called me up, who stated that she's a 62-year-old grandmother who went to Japan to see her grandchildren, and she was arrested, or she was taken into custody for 11 days, and she told me she was tortured in a Japanese jail. And she was told repeatedly she was a terrible person, and that her son was a terrible person. They were bad people because they wanted to try to spend time with her biological grandchildren and her son's children.
Well, we certainly hope, for the sake of this whole entire family, that Chris gets released soon and that in some way this is resolved. I know that it's not been easy for all of you. We wish you the best, Amy. Thanks for speaking to us today.